counterbalance lift truck is a critical piece of equipment to a company that needs to move materials from point A to point B. It can move thousands of pounds of products in a matter of minutes. The same job performed by manual labor could take hours or days. Imagine in your area how difficult it would be to do the same amount of work without a lift truck. Lift trucks, when used properly, are a great asset to any company, but can also cause a great deal of damage if used recklessly. In a single second, permanent damage can be done to you and those around you. Many lives have been lost by an operator not understanding the basic principles of a lift truck. Safe and knowledgeable operators cause fewer accidents. The information found in this manual and video provides some of the basic information needed to operate a lift truck. However, not all applications are the same. This requires that the operator understand how different sizes and types of loads affect the lift truck. The professional operator is always learning. Lift trucks look harmless when parked. It often surprises operators when they realize how much the truck weighs when fully loaded. Consider the following. A 5,000-pound capacity lift truck weighs 9,000 pounds. The weight of a load it's carrying, 5,000 pounds. So now the total weight is 14,000 pounds. One truck can weigh as much as 6 cars. This massive weight needs to be operated by a person who is serious about safety and understands how to use a lift truck fully. Who can use a lift truck? The Occupational Health and Safety Administration, also known as OSHA, has very clear standards that employers must follow. Operator qualifications. Only trained and authorized personnel shall be permitted to operate a powered industrial truck. Operators of powered industrial trucks shall be qualified as to visual, auditory, physical, and mental ability to operate the equipment safely. Let's take a moment on the next 2 pages to look at the major causes of accidents and the causes of fatalities. As you can see, the number 1 causes of accidents is tip over, then followed by struck by a powered industrial truck, struck by falling load, elevated employee on the truck, ran off the loading dock, improper maintenance, lost control of truck, struck by material, employee overcome by propane, faulty industrial truck, unloading an unlocked trailer, employee fell from the vehicle, improper use, and electrocutions. And the main causes of fatalities from a forklift are crushed by a tipping vehicle, crushed between a vehicle and a hard surface, crushed between 2 vehicles, struck or run over by a vehicle, struck by falling material, fall from the platform onto the forks, and the accidental activation of controls. So please be safe. When driving a lift truck, it's important to be aware and looking for the hazards. Making the workplace safe involves everyone. Constantly look for hazards and report them to your supervisor immediately. This chart demonstrates that safety hazards can be anywhere. Keep a keen eye out for anything that can cause an accident and report it to your supervisor. Some of the major causes of accidents are just people, materials, equipment, and environment. People, the number 1 reason, is that untrained, their attitude, stepping into the path of a forklift truck, horseplay, and human error. Materials, carrying materials that are unstackable, unsecured loads, bulky loads, your vision is blocked, and uneven distributed loads on your forks. Some of the equipment that can cause hazards: inadequate maintenance, design difference, wrong for the job, visibility restrictions, and no safety markings. And in your environment, there's congested areas, poor lighting, the layout, uneven floors, the weather, and slippery floors. of a lift truck. The counterbalanced lift truck works the same way as a teeter-totter. The weight of the truck itself counterbalances the load it is moving. To further understand how a lift truck handles loads, we're going to introduce three concepts in this module. The center of gravity, which is displayed with this little symbol, the load center, and the stability triangle. Let's look at this now. The center of gravity. Simply put, it is a place at which an object will balance on a single point. Common sense dictates that the center of gravity is usually at the center of an object. But look at these objects below. Notice how the shape of these loads alters their center of gravity. Load center. The distance between the front load carrying face of the forks and the center of gravity of the load. As you can see on the diagram, the load center on the lift truck is the distance between point A and point B. Notice that the load center is calculated at the face of the forks. Positioning the load away from the face of the forks will increase the load center. Nameplate. Every lift truck must have a nameplate securely attached and legible. This is because it contains vital information about the truck's capacity. If the lift truck is modified in any way or has an attachment added, the nameplate must be updated by the original manufacturer of the lift truck. On the following page, there are two examples of nameplates and descriptions of how to read the information provided. Take a moment to look these over. Some of the vital information that you'll want to know on your lift truck is on the nameplate. Like the approximate weight is the weight of the lift truck without a load. The maximum lift height is based on rated load centers below. The capacity will decrease as the load center increases. Mast and back tilt refers to the type of mast and the maximum back tilt. Attach is to indicate the nameplate reflects capacity with an attachment. And tire sizes to ensure the proper replacement tires are installed to meet capacity ratings. Tire pressure is also shown in pounds per square inch for pneumatic tires. On an electric powered model, there will also be the battery weight. The minimum and maximum indicates the minimum battery weight in order to meet the rated capacity. The maximum weight of the battery must not be exceeded or damage could result to the lift truck. The truck weight without a battery is the truck weight without a battery. The battery will have its weight stamped on the case. Adding the truck and battery weight together will give the total weight of the vehicle. You may also find a load center capacity chart such as this one. It will show the truck's maximum capacity at a certain lift height and then demonstrate how the capacity is decreased as the load center is increased. An important point, the higher the lift, the lower the capacity of your lift truck. Load center. Loads can come in a variety of different shapes, sizes, and weight. Each of these elements can affect the load center and the lift truck's stability. It's very important to know the weight, the load center, and characteristics of every load you are carrying. All these examples are based on a lift truck with a 5,000 pound capacity and a 24-inch load center. In this even load, the height is 40 inches, the length is 48 inches, and the width is 44 inches. With a 24-inch load center, the truck will remain stable with a 5,000 pound load. Now a longer load center, the height is 30 inches, the length is 60 inches, and the width is 36 inches. With a load center of 30 inches, this truck may tip forward. Let's look at an object with a higher load center. This height is 84 inches, the length is 48 inches, and the width is 44 inches. This load has a high center of gravity. While the load will sit stable on the truck with the forks lowered, the truck may tip backwards if the load is raised and tilted back. An off-center load, the height here is 50 inches, the length is 48 inches, and the width is 60 inches. This load will sit stable on a lift truck. However, with the two boxes sitting on one side, the load center has moved dangerously close to the edge of our stability triangle. A quick, sharp turn could cause this truck to turn over. Let's look at shifting load centers. In the next two examples, both are carrying liquid, but the appearance is the same. Both have heights of 40 inches, lengths of 42 inches, and widths of 42 inches. However, with different amount of liquid in each barrel, they are very different. But however, the barrels filled with liquid will seem stable when the truck and the load are still. As the truck moves, however, the center of gravity will shift as the liquid moves. A sudden stop or quick turn could cause the truck's center of gravity to move out of our stability triangle and tip the truck. Stability triangle. As its name implies, the stability triangle refers to the area of a vehicle which is most stable. On an unloaded lift truck whose center of gravity lies roughly underneath the operator, the stability triangle can be found between the front wheels and the center of the axle of the steer wheels. Some factors that can move the center of gravity of a lift truck. The lift truck is stopped and unloaded. The lift truck is loaded and stopped too quickly. The lift truck is loaded on the right side and turning left. The lift truck is loaded on the left side and turning right. And the lift truck is loaded and lifting a load with the mast tilted backwards. Let's look from the side view. The stability triangle also has a third dimension. When viewed from the side, it looks similar to a three-dimensional pyramid. As the load is raised, the combined center of gravity of the load and the truck will also rise. Tilting a raised load forward or back will similarly move the center of gravity of that load forward or backward. Raising and tilting a load can cause the truck's center of gravity to move out of the stability triangle and tip the truck over. Caution must be exercised when tilting the mast while the load is being raised. Notice how the top of the stability triangle becomes very narrow, therefore causing the center of gravity to move outside the triangle if the mast is tilted excessively. How lifting a load affects the center of gravity in the stability triangle. When a truck is unloaded, the center of gravity is just below the operator's seat. Once a load is picked up, a combined center of gravity is formed by the center of gravity of the load and the center of gravity of the lift truck itself. Notice how the combined center of gravity moves forward when the load is lifted off the ground. If the combined center of gravity of the truck and load is within the stability triangle, the truck is stable. However, as the center of gravity moves closer to the edge of the triangle, the truck has a greater chance of tipping over. In the above diagram, the center of gravity has moved closer to the front of the truck as it picks up a load. If the load is too heavy, the center of gravity will move outside the stability triangle, resulting in the rear wheels coming off the ground. How a truck tips forward. The combined center of gravity inside the stability truck, the truck is stable. The larger load causes the combined center of gravity to move close to the edge of the triangle. The truck is at full capacity and extreme caution should be taken. Then, the load is too large, causing the combined center of gravity to move outside the triangle. The truck is unstable and tips forward. How turning a lift truck affects the center of gravity in the stability triangle. Most fatal accidents involving lift trucks occur when the lift truck tips over sideways. In the following diagrams, notice how the load in truck A helps it maintain its center of gravity within its stability triangle when turning to the left. But without a load to help stabilize it, truck B's center of gravity has moved outside the stability triangle. As a result, the truck could easily tip over. Look again at the diagrams. Both trucks are making a left-hand turn and have to make an emergency stop. This pushes the center of gravity to the edge of the triangle. Which truck do you think will be more stable? If you guess truck A, you're correct. As you can see, the weight of the load keeps the center of gravity within the stability triangle. Without the benefit of a load to stabilize it, truck B could easily tip over. Fast and abrupt moves, especially when unloaded, can turn the truck over sideways very quickly. That's why it's always important to drive at a safe speed when carrying a load or not carrying a load. How lifting a load affects the center of gravity in the stability triangle. These two diagrams demonstrate how the center of gravity moves towards the steer axle as the load is lifted and the mast tilted back. The center of gravity is closer to the edge of the stability triangle in truck B, and therefore is more likely to tip over sideways than truck A. An important point: only tilt the mast enough to stabilize the load when lifting. Be extremely careful not to make any quick movements or turns when loads are lifted. Why trucks tip over? In the following illustrations, the point represents the combined center of gravity in the stability triangle. Here's a normal example. Unloaded. Here's a capacity load on a lift truck. Here's a capacity load with the mast tilted back. Here's a capacity load with the mast tilted forward. This is an unbalanced load. And this is a vehicle turning a corner with a load. Notice when the center of gravity has been moved backward, such as when raising a load or tilting it backwards, the center of gravity is much closer to the sides of the stability triangle. Thus, a truck in this condition is more susceptible to having its center of gravity move outside of the stability triangle because of fast cornering, passing over an obstruction on the floor, or carrying an unbalanced load. Anytime the center of gravity moves outside the sides of the stability triangle, the forklift truck will tip over. Follow the sequence of events leading to a tip over. The vehicle is empty. The load is raised and tilted back. Vehicle makes a fast turn, then the truck tips over. Tip overs. The operation of a counterbalanced, center control high lift truck with a sit-down, non-elevating operator requires special safety considerations as follows. An industrial truck, loaded or unloaded, may tip over if an operator fails to slow down to a safe speed before making turns. Indications that a truck is being driven at an excessive speed during turning maneuvers include the tires skidding, the truck slides sideways, the wheels lift off the ground, and the need to grip the steering wheel tightly to keep from sliding out of the seat. The likelihood of a lateral tip over is increased under any of the following conditions or combinations of them. Overloading of the truck, traveling with the load elevated, braking or accelerating sharply while turning, the rearward tilt or off-center positioning of the load, traveling on an uneven surface, and traveling at excessive speeds. Tipping forward can occur, and its likelihood is increased under the following conditions or combinations of them: overloading of the truck, traveling with the load tilted forward and or elevated, hard braking while traveling forward, and suddenly accelerating while traveling in reverse. The operator should stay with the truck if a lateral or longitudinal tip over occurs, or if the truck is falling off a loading dock or a ramp. The operator should hold on firmly, brace his feet, and lean away from the point of impact. Always wear the available seatbelt. Seatbelt usage will help the operator stay with the truck. Where the environment presents a severe hazard or there are other unusual operating conditions, the user may need to implement different and/or additional safety precautions and special operating instructions appropriate for the conditions. Attachments. Attachments allow the lift truck to lift and carry a specialized load. They increase the productivity of the lift truck by enabling it to handle such loads as large paper rolls, dumping bins, moving boxes without the need for a pallet or carrying drums or rolls of carpet. The operator must be specifically trained to use the attachment on the lift truck. Attachments affect the capacity rating of a lift truck in two ways. The lost load center, increased lost load center. Since the attachment hangs onto the carriage, it moves the load away from the truck. This increases the load center of the load, therefore decreasing the capacity of the truck. The weight of the attachment. The weight of the attachment also decreases the net capacity of the lift truck. The weight of the attachment can be from a couple hundred pounds to a couple thousand pounds. When an attachment has been added to a lift truck, a new nameplate must be requested from the manufacturer of the lift truck and affixed immediately. Pre-operational safety check. This module reviews OSHA's Regulation 1910.178.Q regarding the maintenance of industrial trucks. It provides an example of an operator's pre-shift inspection, which can be used during the pre-operation safety check. Number 1, safe operating condition. Any power-operated industrial truck not in safe operating condition shall be removed from service. All repairs shall be made by authorized personnel. 2, location. No repairs shall be made in Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 locations. These are hazardous material areas. Number 3, fire hazards. Repairs to the fuel and ignition systems of industrial trucks which involve fire hazards shall be conducted only in locations designated for such repairs. 4, electrical. Trucks in need of repairs to the electrical system shall have the battery disconnected prior to such repairs. 5, parts. All parts of any such industrial truck requiring replacement shall be replaced only by parts equivalent as to safety with those used in the original design. 6, alterations. Industrial trucks shall not be altered so that the relative positions of the various parts are different from what they were when originally received from the manufacturer, nor shall they be altered either by the addition of extra parts not provided by the manufacturer or by the elimination of any parts except as provided in paragraph Q12 of this section. Additional counterweighting of the lift truck shall not be done unless approved by the truck manufacturer. 7, daily inspection. Industrial trucks shall be examined before being placed in service and shall not be placed in service if the examination shows any condition adversely affecting the safety of the vehicle. Such examinations shall be made at least daily. 8, mufflers. Water mufflers, if applicable, shall be filled daily or as frequently as is necessary to prevent depletion of the supply of water below 75% of the filled capacity. Vehicles with mufflers having screens or other parts that may become clogged shall not be operated while such screens or parts are clogged. Any vehicle that emits hazardous sparks or flames from the exhaust system shall immediately be removed from service and not return to service until the cause for the emission of such sparks and flames has been eliminated. 9, temperature. When the temperature of any part of the truck is found to be in excess of its normal operating temperature, thus creating a hazardous condition, the vehicle shall be removed from service and not returned to service until the cause for such overheating has been eliminated. 10, cleaning. Industrial trucks shall be kept in a clean condition, free of lint, excess oil, and grease. Non-combustible agents should be used for cleaning trucks. Low flash point below 100 degrees Fahrenheit solvents shall not be used. High flash point at or above 100 degrees Fahrenheit solvents may be used. Precautions regarding toxicity, ventilation, and fire hazards shall be consistent with the agent or solvent used. 12. Fuel conversion. Industrial trucks originally approved for the use of gasoline for fuel may be converted to liquefied petroleum gas fuel provided the complete conversion results in a truck which embodies the features specified for LP or LPS designated trucks. Such conversion equipment shall be approved. The description of the component parts of this conversion system and the recommended method of installation on specific trucks are contained in the Listed by Report section. Also an important note, where industrial trucks are used on a round-the-clock basis, they shall be examined after each shift. Defects when found shall be immediately reported and corrected. Here at Signature, you will fill out an inspection form at the beginning of each shift before using a forklift. When filling out your pre-operational safety check before the shift for your forklift, if maintenance is found to be needed on the forklift you are inspecting, a red tag will be filled out and attached to the truck. If the truck needs to be moved to a designated area so it's not blocking production, you will do so safely with another team member. Some items on the checklist to look for will be check the tires for excessive wear, deep cuts, and proper inflation. Check the horn and any other warning devices for proper operation. Check the general appearance and proper operation of the seat belt. Check all lift, lower, tilt, and attachment controls for proper operation and any visual signs of hydraulic leakage. Check the parking brake and service brakes. Familiarize yourself with their operation. Check the steering for excessive play or binding. Check the forks and fork retaining pins for damage. And check the general appearance of the mast, the operator seat, and hydraulic hoses. For an internal combustion truck, like here at Signature, check the oil level, the fuel level, the battery for any corrosion, and radiator coolant each day. Also make a general inspection for leakage. Always turn off the engine while refueling. And just keep a clean truck. Operating a lift truck safely. UL rating, hazardous materials. In many cases, lift trucks are required to work around materials that are highly flammable, such as acetone or grain dust. A spark from the electrical or exhaust system could ignite this material, causing a serious fire. For this reason, a nationally recognized testing laboratory, Underwriters Laboratories, UL, has designed specifications for manufacturers to meet in order for lifting equipment to work in hazardous locations. If you are working with materials that are flammable, be sure that the lift truck you are using has the proper designation and is in good working order. Description of classes. Unclassified. Locations not possessing atmospheres as described in other columns. Class 1. Locations in which flammable gases or vapors are or may be present in the air in quantities sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures. Class 2. Locations which are hazardous because of the presence of combustible dust. And Class 3. Locations where easily ignitable fibers or flyings are present but not likely to be in suspension in quantities sufficient to produce ignitable mixtures. How does the rating system work? An area where flammable material is stored is broken down into two classifications. First, determine the group the material is classified under. Gasoline and acetone are grouped together because they react similarly in conditions needed to ignite them. Second, the class determines the amount of material exposed. The greater amount present in the air, the more safeguards that need to be in place. The summary table on the next page gives an outline of the different flammable materials and the UL authorization that must be in place in order for a lift truck to operate in those conditions. Operating a lift truck safely. Types of forks. There are basically three types of forks: pallet, a polished and tapered fork, and a plywood fork. The pallet fork, this is the most common type of fork in use today, is designed to handle pallets or skids. Some manufacturers put a taper on the bottom of the fork so that it can be used to chisel under certain types of loads. A polished and tapered fork. This fork is primarily used for chiseling operations. It's a thin fork that has a very smooth finish and can be tapered either on the top or bottom depending on the type of chiseling operation. This fork can also be used for handling pallets or skids. And the plywood fork. This is a fork primarily used in the lumber business. It's wider and thinner than a regular fork and enables the operator to chisel between sheets of plywood. The forks that you use should always be shorter than the load you are handling. For example, when handling a 48-inch pallet, you should use 42-inch forks. The reason for this is that a fork protruding beyond the load may damage another load when stacking. However, if the forks are too short, you will be operating under unstable conditions. A general rule would be that the fork should extend at least 3/4 of the distance under the load. Fork extensions. Fork extensions are generally used to handle long loads. They slide over the regular forks and give added length. If, for example, the majority of your requirements are for a 36-inch fork, but occasionally you need a 48-inch fork, you could use fork extensions rather than having 2 pairs of forks. When picking up a load, the forks should be evenly spread well out toward the sides of the pallet. The key points are to use the proper type of forks for the application and always space them correctly for the load. Operating a lift truck safely. Types of uprights or masts. There are 4 types of uprights used on high lift trucks. They are commonly referred to as a standard, a free lift, a 3-stage, and 4-stage. In order to describe the 4 different types of masts, we shall use the common collapsed height of 71 inches. However, masts are available with higher or lower collapsed heights, which will yield different maximum fork heights. Free lift is the maximum height the forks will reach before the entire mast will begin to extend. This is an important feature to have in order to double stack inside a trailer. If a truck only has a 16-inch of free lift, the mast will extend through the trailer roof before the forks are raised 48 inches. On a standard mast, the collapsed height is 71 inches and the maximum fork height is 106 inches. Typical amount of free lift is 16 inches, referred to as a 71/106 16-inch free lift. A full free lift is same as a standard, except the free lift is increased to approximately 49 inches. This allows for usage in a low obstruction area such as double stacking loads in a trailer. Upright referred to as 71/106 49-inch free lift. On a 3-stage, the upright telescopes to a maximum fork height of 153 inches, referred to as a 71/153 40-inch free lift. Can negotiate low obstructions because of the 71-inch collapse height, but can lift to 153 inches. Then the 4-stage, that has a collapse height of 71 inches, upright telescopes to a maximum fork height of 193 inches, referred to as a 71/193 50-inch free lift. Same as 3-stage, except lift height is 193 inches. Note, it should be noted that the 193 inches maximum fork height achieved by the 4-stage upright could also have been achieved by a standard upright. However, this is not practical since this would have made its collapse height too great for most plant applications. These 4 options allow flexibility in the equipment to be best performed under varying set of height requirements. Operating a lift truck safely. No person shall be allowed to stand or pass under the elevated forks or attachments of any lift truck, whether loaded or empty. Unauthorized and untrained personnel shall not be permitted to operate material handling equipment. Never lift a person using a lift truck. Not on the forks, not in a cage, and not even a so-called OSHA-approved man lift basket. 12% of fatalities related to lift trucks involve someone using a lift truck as an elevator. Use only equipment specifically designed to lift personnel. Hands should be clean and dry, particularly free of grease or oil. Head, foot, and eye protection shall be worn where the operator is likely to be exposed to head, foot, and eye injury. When an operator is assigned a lift truck, they are responsible for seeing that no one other than the qualified operator drives or handles it. Ensure that the condition of your truck has been inspected daily. An example would be check the oil, water, fuel levels, fuel leaks, batteries, tires, the forks, chains, the horn, lights, seat belts, controls, steering, brakes, limit switches, and cleanliness. Ensure that all guards, enclosures, or covers are in place. Report defects, leaks, etc. to the supervisor immediately. Operating a lift truck safely. Loading and unloading. Approach the load squarely with forks level. While not part of the lift truck, attention should be given to the condition of pallets. A damaged pallet can greatly reduce load stability. Load should not be shifted by butting with the truck. Forks which are adjustable shall be placed at the outer edges of the load. The forks should be placed under the load as far as possible. The load should be placed against the fork carriage. After the load has been picked up, the mast should be tilted rearward only enough to stabilize the load. It's the responsibility of the operator to ensure that a load is properly and neatly stacked, and where applicable, secured. Place the heaviest objects nearest the bottom of the load. Round objects should be blocked. It's the responsibility of the operator to know the capacity and gross weight of his loaded truck. The operator must know the maximum fork height and the vehicle's load center rating. Operate and travel only in areas approved for your load. Weight should never be placed on the rear of the lift truck to increase lifting capacity. Lift trucks should be used only for the weight they were designed to carry. It's not recommended to push a capacity load on the floor. All towing should be done from the rear of truck if the proper drawbar pin is provided from the manufacturer. The operator must be aware of the lift truck's drawbar pull capacity as rated by its manufacturer. The operator will always carry loads in the lower position with enough rearward tilt to stabilize the load. The operator will come to a complete stop at the stack area before elevating the load. Brake and raise the load to stack height with mast tilted rearward. If the stack area is not level, the approach must be made from the downhill side and the truck must be level laterally before the load is raised. Stop at the front of the stack. Place controls in neutral, apply parking brake, or inch forward as required. When the load is above and clear of the stack, place vehicle in gear. Move slowly forward by releasing parking brake or begin lifting left foot off, inching the brake pedal slowly until the load is over the stack or rack. Move the mast forward to the vertical position until the forks and load are parallel to the rack or stack. Lower the load to the stack or rack. The mast should never be tilted forward unless the load is directly over the intended place for unloading. Lower the forks to clear the load and reverse truck to withdraw forks. When clear of the stack, lower the forks to about 4 to 6 inches from the floor level. All lifting, tilting, or lowering motions will be done slowly. Operating a lift truck safely. Traveling. Lift trucks shall not be driven up to anyone standing in front of a bench or other fixed object. Operators shall ensure that no passengers ride on the lift truck. Keep legs and feet inside the confines or guards of the lift truck. Operator must never place any part of the body between the mast rails. Operators must look around before starting to move. It's the responsibility of the operator to avoid the striking of overhead electrical fixtures, valves, sprinkler systems, etc. during high lift operations. A safe distance will be maintained from the edge of ramps or platforms while on any elevated dock. Always travel with the forks as low as possible, whether the lift truck is loaded or unloaded. Forks should clear the floor by about 4 to 6 inches and should be slightly tilted back. Avoid driving over loose objects or holes in the floor. Always look in the direction of travel before moving, particularly when traveling in reverse. This includes the short reverse movement which is required when turning the truck around in confined spaces. Watch the rear end swing of the lift truck when turning corners. While negotiating turns, reduce speed to a safe level. Turn the steering wheel in a smooth sweeping motion. Except when maneuvering at a very low speed, the steering wheel shall be turned at a moderate, even rate. An extreme hazard exists when making short radius turns with an elevated load. Do not hurry. It's the responsibility of the operator to maintain a safe speed at all times. It's the responsibility of the operator to reduce vehicle speed when traveling on uneven road surfaces. The operator will reduce speed on wet and slippery floors, in congested areas, when descending ramps or inclines, when crossing bridge plates, when vision is restricted, when carrying a load, or when traveling over uneven surfaces. All starts, stops, and turns should be easy and gradual. particularly when the truck is loaded. Keep to the right when passing. Operators must be sure the operator of another vehicle is aware of his presence and intended action. Maintain a distance of 20 feet behind another truck going in the same direction. Slow down and sound horn in short blasts at cross aisles, doorways, or when approaching other trucks. Pedestrians will always be given the right-of-way. The operator will stop and sound the horn at blind corners, railway crossings, elevators, or whenever vision is obscured. Operators must always yield the right-of-way to pedestrians. The operator will travel in reverse if the load being carried obstructs his view. Other lift trucks traveling in the same direction at intersections, blind spots, or other dangerous locations shall not be passed. The operator shall be required to look in the direction of travel and keep a clear view of the intended path of travel. All traffic regulations shall be observed, including authorized plant speed limits. Under all travel conditions, the truck will be operated with complete control at all times, inside or outside of the plant. Stunt driving and horseplay will not be permitted or tolerated. Railway tracks must always be crossed slowly and diagonally. Operation on ramps or inclines requires special attention. Brakes should be tested and speed reduced before descending. Where applicable, the correct gear should be used for the load being transported. No person shall be permitted to walk down ramps ahead of the truck. Extreme caution is required when operating near the edge of ramps or the edge of docks. The operator will always travel straight up and straight down ramps. Never attempt to turn the vehicle while on a ramp. The operator will always transport the load on the upside of a ramp or grade. An example, a lift truck carrying a load should be driven up and backed down a ramp or grade. The reverse is to be applied to empty trucks. Example, backed up and driven down. Gradability of vehicle may be found in the manual provided by the vehicle's manufacturer. Example, the percentage of grade the vehicle can ascend and descend safely. When the operator is traveling in reverse, because the load being carried obstructs their forward view and a ramp is to be attempted, the operator will turn the vehicle around and operate vehicle with the load upgrade. There must also be a signaler at the top of the grade in complete view of the operator guiding him or her up the ramp. Operators will approach elevators at an angle when possible and stop 5 feet from the gate before entering with the load in front. Ensure that the capacity of the elevator is adequate. Personnel, including the elevator operator, should stay off the elevator until the truck has been driven on. Set the parking brake, lower the load to the floor, place controls in neutral, shut off the power, and get off the truck. Operating a lift truck safely on a dock. Make sure that bridge plates are clean and dry, sufficiently strong, and properly secured to prevent sliding. Railway cars or transport trucks must have their wheels blocked. Dock locks or other devices for securing transport trailers to loading docks must be used whenever available. The floor of trucks and railway cars should be checked before entering, and worn or unsafe conditions should be reported to the supervisor. Fixed jacks may be necessary to support a semi-trailer during loading or unloading when the trailer is not coupled to a tractor. Parking. When leaving the truck for any reason, all the controls of the lift truck will be placed in neutral and the brakes applied. The forks will be lowered to the floor and power shut off. Lift trucks should be parked away from aisles, doorways, railway tracks, or fire routes and fire equipment. Correct parking is particularly important when stopped near elevators, ramps, docks, etc. Parking in this case will be done parallel with the edge. If necessary to park on an incline, the wheels must be blocked. At the end of a shift or day, the lift truck will be returned to its designated storage area. Operating a lift truck safely. Special requirements. An overhead guard shall be used as protection against falling objects. It should be noted that an overhead guard is intended to offer protection from the impact of small packages, boxes, bag material, etc., representative of the job application, but not to withstand the impact of a falling capacity load. A load backrest extension shall be used whenever necessary to minimize the possibility of the load or part of it from falling. Only approved industrial lift trucks shall be operated in hazardous locations. Only stable or safely arranged loads shall be handled. When attachments are used, particular care should be taken in securing, manipulating, positioning, and transporting the load. Trucks equipped with attachments shall be operated as partially loaded trucks when not handling a load. Any industrial truck not in safe operating condition shall be removed from service. All repairs shall be made by authorized personnel only. Industrial trucks shall be examined before being placed in service, and where industrial trucks are used on a round-the-clock basis, they shall be examined before each shift. Defects, when found, shall be immediately reported to a supervisor. Vehicle stability is greatly affected by the types of tires used. Each design of tire has a specific purpose. Example: pneumatic tires are mainly used for outside plant operations for increased traction. Solid cushion-type tires are inside use on smooth, clean, dry surfaces. Propane, gasoline, and diesel refueling. Propane cylinder changing. Many lift trucks run on propane. Propane is plentiful, easy to use, and fairly economical. But propane is also a highly combustible fuel which can cause a fire and even explode if improperly handled. This module will concentrate on the safe handling of propane. Some facts to remember. When propane is in the cylinder, it is in liquid form, but because it has an extremely low boiling point of -44 degrees Fahrenheit, propane will immediately turn into gas when it is released into the air. 1 cubic foot of liquid propane expands 270 times when converted into a gas, so there's no such thing as a small propane leak. Propane is also heavier than air and will travel along the floor and will stay there if there is no ventilation. A large leak may travel a long distance to an area of open flame, ignite, and travel back to the source. There are 3 ways to detect a propane leak. Smell. Propane has a distinct odor that is added during the manufacturing process. Hear. A hissing noise can sometimes be heard when propane is escaping. And look, sometimes frost can be seen around the area where gas is escaping. If you know gas is leaking but are not exactly sure where, spread a soap solution over the area. Bubbles will form where there is a leak. Warning: consult the manufacturer's manual before proceeding to handle or change propane cylinders. Propane safety rules. Always wear safety glasses and appropriate gloves when changing a propane cylinder. Before changing cylinder, you must let the engine run while the valve on the cylinder is turned off. This reduces the pressure in the line. If you do not do this, propane may be released when loosening the coupling, causing serious frost burn. Don't smoke near the cylinder changing area. Store cylinders in a safe and approved method. Check your local regulations for the correct procedure. Ensure the pressure relief valve points up when installing the cylinder. Use your eyes, ears, and nose to inspect for leaks. Propane in the cylinder is under pressure. Treat it with respect. Cylinders in storage shall have the valve closed. Any cylinder, either empty or filled, which requires a cylinder valve protecting cap, shall have such a cap in place while in storage. Cylinders that are damaged, leaking, or corroded, or are due for the prescribed re-examination should not be filled or used by anyone and shall be removed from service. Cylinder testing, 12 years after the manufacturer's date. Restamped and retested 5 years after last inspection date. The procedure for changing a propane cylinder is check the manufacturer's date or the last valid inspection date. Visually inspect the cylinder for cuts, gouges, dents, and rusting. Test for leakage, which may render the cylinder defective. Use soap or leak detector. Check that the relief valve fitting is approximately 90 degrees from the locating holes and secure. Check the service valve for defects, the handle broken, the spindle bent, defective or missing O-ring or backup ring. Fill the valve cover in place. Open flow control valve slowly. Check for leakage. Tag the defective cylinder, noting defect and report to a supervisor. Gasoline and diesel refueling. Ensure there is no smoking, sparks, or other sources that could ignite the fuel. Be sure to wear protective equipment such as gloves and eyewear. Do not overfill the tank or allow fuel to leak onto the ground. Ensure the proper type of fuel is being used for the equipment. Refer to the owner's manual if not certain. Clean up any spills and ensure that dirt or foreign material does not get into the tank. Report any defective refueling equipment to your supervisor immediately.
Batteries are an extremely efficient and clean energy source for providing power to industrial lift trucks. However, like any energy source, when mishandled, batteries can cause damage or even cause injury. In this module, we're going to discuss the handling of batteries, because mishandling batteries can cut that battery's life by 50%.
How a battery works. Basically, each cell consists of a positive plate and a negative plate immersed in a solution of sulfuric acid and water. This solution is called electrolyte. Each cell produces about 2 volts of power. As the battery is discharged, the acid becomes weaker to a point where it cannot produce a current. To recharge the battery, the terminals are connected to an AC source, charger, which restores the acidity of the electrolyte, enabling the battery to be used. Look at the diagram. Battery care and recharging. Changing and charging storage batteries. Number 1, location. Battery charging installations shall be located in areas designated for that purpose. 2, facilities. Facilities shall be provided for flushing and neutralizing spilled electrolyte, for fire protection, for protecting charging apparatus from damage by trucks, and for adequate ventilation for dispersal of fumes from gassing batteries. 3, handling. A conveyor, overhead hoist, or equivalent material handling equipment shall be provided for handling batteries. 4, reinstalling. Reinstalled batteries shall be properly positioned and secured in the truck. Number 5, electrolyte. A carboy tilter or siphon shall be provided for handling electrolyte. 6, charging. Match the correct charger to the battery and verify it has the correct voltage and capacity. It should be rated to charge the battery in an 8-hour time period or less. 7, truck position. Truck shall be properly positioned and the parking brake applied before attempting to charge or change a battery. 8, vent caps. Care shall be taken to ensure that vent caps are in place and functioning. The battery or compartment shall be opened to dissipate the heat. 9, smoking. Smoking shall be prohibited in the charging area. Number 10, open flames. Precautions shall be taken to prevent open flames, sparks, or electrical arcs in battery charging areas. Number 11, tools. Tools and other metallic objects shall be kept away from the top of uncovered batteries. Number 12, battery restraint system. After replacing a battery into a lift truck, install the battery restraint system. This will secure the battery in place in case of an accident, such as a tip-over situation. Terminology of batteries. A cell. A unit in the battery consisting of 1 positive plate and 1 negative plate. Each cell has its own vent cap. Charging. When a battery has been discharged, a charger must be connected to the battery. Charging returns to the battery to its maximum ability to deliver current. Cycle. A cycle consists of 1 discharge and 1 charge. There are a limited number of cycles that a battery can take. Charging a battery for only an hour will use up one of those cycles. Therefore, it is best to fully discharge a battery and allow it to fully recharge in order to obtain maximum life. Electrolyte. The solution that is found in the battery. It consists of sulfuric acid and water. Gassing. When a battery is being charged, hydrogen gas is produced. This is why smoking, open flames, and other forms of ignition are not allowed in the area. Hydrometer. The instrument that measures the density or specific gravity of the electrolyte. A fully charged measures 1.290 high acid content. A discharged battery will indicate 1.120 low acid content. The vent cap. Each cell has a vent cap to allow the gases to escape while keeping foreign material out of the cell. Each cell generates just over 2 volts of electricity. At least 2 or 3 cells should have their hydrometer readings taken after charging. Check the water level before and after charging. 10 tips for safe battery handling. Follow the manufacturer's instructions. Neglecting the manufacturer's maintenance instructions can shorten battery life. Inspect the connectors. A loose or pitted connector can cause dangerous arcing or sparking. Don't use the connector as a circuit breaker. Always shut off the charger when connecting or disconnecting the battery. Water regularly after charging. Add water after charging. Charging increases the electrolyte level in cells and can cause overflowing of water before charging. Overflowing means a loss of electrolyte. Keep it clean. Batteries should be kept clean and dry. If electrolyte is spilled on top of the battery, neutralize it immediately with a solution of baking soda and water. Always wear a face mask or goggles, rubber gloves, and a rubber apron when cleaning batteries. Don't lay tools on top. Battery gases are explosive. Short circuits can cause sparks, which may result in an explosion and possible damage to the battery and surrounding area. Keep vent caps in place. Vent caps allow gases to escape, and they keep foreign objects from falling into the cell. Remove vent caps only to add water or to take hydrometer readings, and at all other times keep them securely in place, especially during charging and cleaning. Keep it cool. A normal charge can increase the temperature of a battery by 15 degrees or more. Operating hot batteries shortens their overall life, so allow them to cool down before putting back into service. Do not overcharge. No amount of overcharging will increase battery output beyond its rated capacity. In fact, overcharging will substantially reduce battery life. No smoking. Always charge batteries in a well-ventilated area. Do not smoke, and make sure there are no sparks or open flames in the area. And number 10, in case of an accident, if electrolyte comes in contact with your eyes or skin, rinse thoroughly with water for at least 15 minutes and seek medical attention. Thank you for being part of this forklift training. I wish you luck in the test, and then we'll do our driving part.